The repair request came through during my third shift rotation on Station Eternal Dominion. A Texan night vessel, reporting quantum drive fluctuations and requesting emergency docking clearance. My bioluminescent spots pulsed with anxiety as I processed their credentials. Everyone in security had heard the stories. Authorization granted, Bay 12, my supervisor, Officer Trith, transmitted. Please be advised that station regulations require all weapons to be surrendered upon docking. The response came back with that distinctive drawl that made my secondary heart skip a beat. Much obliged for the berth. Station Eternal Dominion. But you ought to know, ain't nobody taking our weapons. I watched through the security feeds as their ship, bearing the distinctive Lone Star emblem, eased into the docking bay. The quantum wake from their engines left trails of blue fire that our sensors couldn't quite track. 3 knights disembarked, their power armor gleaming with the kind of battle scars you only get from void combat. Trith dispatched our entire gamma shift to the bay. 20 of our finest, armed with the latest in Commonwealth suppression gear. I took my position behind a cargo container, disruptor rifle trained on the knights, though my spots were cycling through warning colors. Station regulations are non-negotiable, Trith announced through the bay's comm system. Surrender your weapons or face immediate removal. The lead knight touched the brim of his Stetson, a gesture that somehow managed to be both respectful and threatening. Son, and wasn't that strange, calling a being 3 times his age son? There's an old saying from our home world. He gestured to a patch on his armor, showing a simple white star and cannon. Come and take it. My spots went dark, an instinctive reaction my species developed over millennia of warfare. Because in that moment, watching those quantum spurs leave trails of blue fire with each deliberate step, I realized we weren't dealing with mere warriors. These were Texas Knights. And we were about to learn exactly why that phrase had echoed across 1,000 battlefields. The station's artificial gravity seemed to grow heavier as the Knights moved into a casual triangle formation. Their armor hummed with barely contained power, but their weapons remained in passive mode. They didn't look worried. They looked amused. Last warning, Trith barked. Surrender your come and take it, the Knights said in unison, and I swear by the void, even our targeting systems seemed to flinch. In the tense moments that followed, I accessed the station's historical database through my neural link. The phrase come and take it appeared in hundreds of battle records, always preceding what the archives diplomatically called one-sided engagements. The earliest reference dated back to Old Earth, something about a cannon and a settlement called Gonzales. But it was the more recent entries that made my spots pulse with dread. New Austin. The Morgoth Gap. The Battle of San Jacinto Station. Each time someone had tried to take something from the Knights. Each time they'd regretted it. Teams Alpha and Beta, move in, Trith ordered. I watched our veteran officers advance, their Commonwealth issue armor looking suddenly inadequate next to the Knights' battle-scarred plate. The Knights didn't move, didn't raise their weapons, just stood there, quantum spurs humming that ancient song of challenge. You know, the lead knight drawled, back in 43, during the Perseus campaign, a whole battalion of Commonwealth Marines tried this same play. His hand rested casually on his holstered quantum pistol. Their commander didn't listen either when we told him about Gonzales. Our tactical officer, Varen, raised his disruptor rifle. Your historical references don't override station security protocols. No, agreed the knight, touching the brim of his Stetson. But they should have warned you about what happens next. That's when our weapons stopped working. Just stopped. No alarms, no discharge, no emergency shutdown. One moment I had a fully charged disruptor rifle. The next I was holding an inert piece of plasteel. The Knights' quantum spurs pulsed once, their blue fire casting strange shadows across the bay. See, the lead knight continued, as if giving a lecture. Most folks focus on the take it part of that phrase. He took a single step forward, power armor moving with impossible grace. But the important word is come. My spots cycled to emergency colors as I realized what was about to happen. Because the Knights still hadn't drawn their weapons. They didn't need to. Last chance, the knight said softly. Y'all can stand down, we can get our drive repaired, and this becomes a funny story you tell in the mess hall. Trith's response was to charge forward. And that's when I learned why you never, ever obey when a Texan tells you to come and take it. What followed wasn't combat. It was a lesson. Trith reached the Knights first, his augmented muscles propelling him forward with enough force to dent plasteel. The lead knight sidestepped with that impossible grace, one quantum spur leaving a trail of blue fire as he hooked Trith's ankle. My supervisor, veteran of 3 Void Wars, went down like a rookie in basic training. "That's one," the knight counted casually. Teams Alpha and Beta rushed in. 20 of our finest security officers, armed with backup stunners and shock batons, against 3 knights who still hadn't drawn their weapons. The second knight, shorter but built like a cargo loader, caught Varen's shock baton barehanded. Their power armor absorbed the charge without a flicker. "Y'all might want to reconsider your tactical approach," they suggested before tossing Varen into 3 of his squadmates. "That's 5, the lead knight updated. I watched through my targeting system as the third knight dealt with Team Beta. They moved like water through vacuum, power armor flowing around attacks that should have connected. Each movement was precise, controlled, almost gentle in its efficiency. Officers went down to joint locks and pressure holds that my combat analysis software couldn't even track. "That's 12, called the lead knight, still dodging Trith's increasingly desperate attacks. My spots shifted to display colors I didn't even know I could produce as I realized something terrifying. The knights were teaching us. Each takedown was textbook perfect, executed at quarter speed, with pauses to let us see exactly how they did it. They weren't fighting us. They were giving us a remedial lesson in hand-to-hand combat. "And that's 20, the lead knight announced as the last officer hit the deck. He helped Trith up with courteous efficiency. Now, about that quantum drive repair. The bay was silent except for the hum of quantum spurs and the groans of my colleagues. Not a single serious injury, not even a bruise that wouldn't heal by next shift. The knights had just decimated our entire security force without throwing a single punch, and their weapons were still in passive mode. After the station's maintenance crews repaired their quantum drive, the knights gathered us in the training hall for what they called a demonstration. My spots still pulse with remembered awe when I think about what followed. Y'all fought well, the lead knight began, but there's something you need to understand about that phrase you heard today. He drew his quantum pistol, the weapon we'd tried to confiscate, and aimed at a training dummy. The dummy didn't just disintegrate. It, and the 3 dummies behind it, ceased to exist at a quantum level. The wall behind them showed no damage, no scorch marks, just a perfect circle where atomic bonds had been selectively severed. "Our weapons aren't for show," the second knight explained, powering up their quantum spurs to full combat mode. The deck plating beneath their feet transmuted into pure energy, leaving perfectly cauterized footprints in the station's hull. The third knight simply touched their sword hilt. Every piece of electronics in the room flickered. "We said come and take it because we respect your right to try," the lead knight continued. "But we deliberately chose not to show you what would happen if we meant business." They left us with 2 gifts. First, a ceremonial plaque bearing their famous motto, now mounted in our security office as a reminder. Second, a battle recording from their armor's quantum matrix, showing exactly how many ways they could have ended the confrontation lethally. The recording is now mandatory viewing at the Commonwealth Security Academy. Right alongside historical footage from Gonzales, the Morgoth Gap, and 100 other places where someone didn't understand what those words really meant. These days, when knights dock at our station, we still recite the regulations about surrendering weapons. But when they drawl those 4 famous words, we smile, touch our badges, and welcome them aboard. Because now we understand. When a Texan says come and take it, they're not making a threat. They're offering you a chance to walk away. And if you're smart, if you've learned what I learned that day, you'll take that chance. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave it a like and to subscribe if you'd like to see more. Feel free to comment and share it as well. With all that said, go on and check out the video in the top left. I think you might like it.